Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel Cranting. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share, and leave a comment in the comment section. Let's go. Now, after months of deliberation, discussions, the Ghana Football Association has finally named Chris Hughton as a new head coach of Ghana's Black Stars. Now, he was a former technical advisor under the Otto Addo regime. Yes, Otto Addo served as head coach with Didi Dramani and George Boateng as his assistants, with Chris Hughton, the now head coach, who was serving as technical advisor. So Chris Hughton has been part of this Black Stars setup for at least close to a year now. Let me say about 9 months. So I'm happy about this announcement. Why? Because of continuity. This is something that the Black Stars have struggled to do over the past for quite a very long time, honestly, for quite a very long time. When you look at the head coaches who have passed through the national team since, let me say, Avram Graham's time, they are guys who have completely different philosophies. They've come in, they've chopped and changed the squad. So we've not necessarily seen proper continuity with the Black Stars. You see one player who is beginning to find his feet with the Black Stars, then the head coach gets sacked, a new coach comes in, and that player is completely thrown off the radar. Now, this time around with Chris Hughton, now the new head coach, and due to the fact that he was technical advisor before, if you compare the AFCON squad that Ghana took to the 2021 AFCON, that was last year, January, and you compare that to the team that the Black Stars named against Nigeria in the double header of the World Cup playoffs, you could see quite a number of changes. The first one, that was the AFCON squad, was under Milo. The World Cup playoff game against Nigeria was under Otto Addo, and the new school with Otto Addo, Didi Dramani, George Boateng, and then Chris Hughton. And there were some changes. Now, if you look at the squads since the Nigeria playoff game, to the two AFCON qualifiers, to the friendly games, to the World Cup, there's some level of continuity. You could almost predict at least 20 players who find themselves in that list. So that is something that we can build from. Second of all, there's been a huge change. There were some areas where Ghana lacked in the AFCON squad. We spoke about it at length. We lacked a right back, we lacked a potent number 9. But in terms of personnel, and I'm not talking about performances yet because it's a bit too soon to start judging players, but in terms of personnel, during that time, under the regime of Otto Addo with Didi Dramani, George Boateng, and Chris Hughton, most importantly, the Black Stars have seen some consistent names and also fixes to some of the problems. So if you look at right back, we've seen the introduction of Dennis Odoi and Tariq Lamptey, who have come in. You can even add Ali Busedi during that time, who can also play in that particular position. You look at the number 9 slot, we've seen Afinajan come in, we've seen Iñaki Williams, who is a more let me say established number 9 in terms of world football. As to his performances with the Black Stars, he's still yet to get there, but you have to give him some time to settle in. So in terms of finding players to fix problems in the team, I think they've done quite a good job. Before Otto Addo came in with Chris Hughton and the likes, the left back position was basically a given for Baba Rahman. This time around, you've come in, and if you compare the games they've played during March until now, and you compare the number of appearances that Baba Rahman has had as against somebody like Gideon Mensah, you've seen that it's almost balancing out. So you can tell that there's slowly been a phasing out of the old school, and then the new school also coming in. And even not necessarily in terms of performance, but we need competition in that position. You cannot have a competition or a position in the team that is outright for one person. There needs to be competition, and I feel like they've done well in that regard. So for the playing body having a familiar face in the dressing room, yes, Otto Addo is gone, but his sort of, not necessarily, but his boss in quote is now the head coach of the team. He comes with a lot of experience. He comes in with respect, and if you talk to some of the players, they really revere Chris Hughton in that regard. So that is something that will help when it comes to philosophies and tactical plans and patterns and things like that. I don't think he'll be too different from what, in terms of fundamentals of how we play our football. I don't think he'll be too different from Otto Addo, because if you look at how Otto Addo played, some people went at him for being a bit too defensive. But if you also look at the track record of Chris Hughton, he's somebody that has built his career on defensive solidity. his Brighton team were very notable for being very hard to break down. When he was at Newcastle for that short brief spell, it was the same story. Nottingham Forest, the fans were not happy with him because he was not playing expansive football, and of course in the latter stages results went against him. But in terms of defensive solidity, he has that name for himself, his ability to build his teams and make them very difficult to beat. So I don't think fundamentally Ghana will play very different from what we saw under Atuado. What I think will happen is that there will be more mature tactical decisions because of his experience. He has seen it, he has done it. There will be more decisions with conviction. So we will not see those, if today we are doing this, tomorrow we are doing this. I think he comes with a bit more a definite approach, and with him, I think he'll be more assertive in how he goes about his business as against Otuado, who is young in the business, and you can understand why he made some of the mistakes he made in the past. So I think that Chris Hughton is a very good choice for me. When it comes to the talk of the GFA's influence and things, look, that is a problem that I don't think it is a problem that is beyond any head coach that will come in. If you want to tackle that issue, you need to tackle it head on. But I don't think you can point names and say this person is a puppet, this person is a puppet, because I feel like as it stands, if we don't address the issues from the root, even if you bring Pep Guardiola, there will be some certain level of influence in the national teams. And when it comes to that, you can also see that to some extent, it's a thing that happens elsewhere. The difference is the degree at which it happens. So if it happens to the point where the head coach cannot have a say in anything he does, and it's the FA who is pulling strings for him, that is an absolute no, which we cannot accept. But if it happens in minute situations, I don't think even Chris Hughton will mind that. If he has the final say and if he has the ability to call the shots, and maybe there are suggestions, maybe there are one or two decisions where they want to debate with him as to why, that's fine, but not necessarily challenge his decisions which he's fully convicted of. That is a complete no-no in my books. So I think he comes with that sort of pedigree. I don't think he can be a push around. I think he comes with a lot of assertiveness, a lot of experience, and continuity is extremely important. I've mentioned the differences between the squads between the AFCON time and then the World Cup time. You look at the fact that this is a team in transition. This is a team that has a lot of exciting players, but they've not built that chemistry yet. So when you are slowly building something like that, it is extremely important to have familiarity around, continuity around. You cannot chop and change and bring somebody completely new, because what is a guarantee that some of the new guys who have come in, he will be willing to continue with them in the journey. But there's a high possibility that Chris Hughton will do that, because we know that he was also instrumental in bringing some of these guys in. So the vision is in sync, and I think that in terms of direction and who takes charge of it, Chris Hughton is a very good choice because of the sort of pedigree that he brings into the national team. As to some of the big calls that he will have to make, I know after the World Cup there were calls for the total dropping of Andre Ayew, in fact the Ayew brothers and all. I just feel like you can understand why fans get frustrated when it comes to things like that. But I think when it comes to the Black Stars, it's the deployment of especially Andre that's the problem. For me, I don't have a problem with Andre being in the squad, because as we've seen in the transfer window, we all sit here and say he's finished, but the Premier League team is calling him back from the Gulf to come and help them finish a job. So he clearly has his uses. My point is how you use him. That's how do you use him to get the best out of him? In the deployment of his deployment in terms of the tactical setup, if you can use him in a way that will benefit the team, that's perfect. But if he's going to be used in a way that will be detrimental to the team, to what we saw to some extent at the World Cup, then I think that there will be some questions need to be raised, and then Chris Hughton will need to have a huge decision to make in the terms of the long-term direction of this team with regards to Andre Ayew. But aside that, I think the team that we have as it stands, I think 30-35 players who've played between March last year until this time. I think there's a solid group of players, and I think Chris Hughton has a very exciting squad to work with. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Just leave your thoughts. Are you happy with the appointment of Chris Hughton as a Black Stars head coach? Let me know what you think in the comment section.